Alright, so I want to make this video tonight. Um, the concept behind it is kind of explain slash complain video where I walk through a 1v1 matchup against a meta class. I talk about my strategies. I talk about kind of how I approach the fights, how I think my opponent is trying to approach the fight, kind of walk through it step by step, point out my mistakes, which of course there are plenty, point out my opponent's mistakes, and after that, kind of complain about the mechanics I don't like. There's with all these meta classes, I think there are certain gameplay loops that they employ that are problematic in some way. In this fight, I am fighting against a Vampiir, high realm rank Vampiir, Jibby. Seems to be one of the better ones out there. At least he participates in and wins a fair amount of fair fights. Usually on the top 1v1 list, so he's no pushover. Um, the Vamp class, I think, has a really problematic gameplay loop, and I think this video does a great job of showing the core of the issue, wherein they can consistently spam unblockable, unmitigatable damage, and there is very little counterplay um, available. And you'll see in this fight how much they can spam and how little you can actually do to prevent it. I am playing a melee heretic. I am 50 flex, 50 enhance. I think 25 or 28 shield, 14 rejuve. Um, Vamps on paper sometimes a good matchup, sometimes not a good matchup for me. Fanaticism helps a lot. I do decent damage against them, but I am a little bit of a punching bag. The point of the character is to mitigate damage. You're going to get hit more often. You can only block outside of your CL timer for parry. So you're going to get hit a lot. Your goal is to mitigate damage. You have high F, high absorb. Um, the Vamp wants to hit you. So obviously this is conflict right away. The Vamp wants to hit me. I'm okay with being hit, but not against the Vamp. So start the clip and kind of walk through the strategy. I'm starting it from way before the fight begins because I think there is a very important thing to consider when you are facing down a Vamp. And that is when they come tearing in from the wilderness, from out of sight, have they been power farming? You never know. I don't know if this player in particular power farms. I know some of them certainly seem to, given the amount of claws they are able to cast in the beginning of fights. I have seen certain vamps power farming and coming up, clawing me down and bowing afterwards, and I want to avoid that. That is not something I am interested in being a part of. So we see him flying in. I don't have fanaticism up. I don't have my CL abilities up. I don't really want the fight to begin with, but I certainly don't want to fight right when he comes out of quote unquote fog of war. So see him coming towards us. Let's just try to go the other way here. Take a look. All right, he is chasing us. So keep running. Normally at this point, if they want to fight right away, they'll blast you with their little power orb, or they will emote you. He's not doing that right now, and I'm thinking, all right, let's give him at least 30 or 40 seconds to drop any power he may or may not have been farming. Again, I don't know if this player power farms, but you can't be too sure. And also, I really want my CL buffs up for this one. I want to mitigate more damage. I want to have that 11% chance to parry. Every little bit helps against these guys, especially the stronger ones, the more capable ones. So we're running. Looks like he's committed. He is following us. Not great at panning, but good enough to see him chasing. So we keep running. Not a lot to say here. We're watching our CL timer. I know that I want my CL timer to be at around 20 seconds before the fight starts at a minimum. Ideally, it's just up. But against these vamps, I think the best strategy is to engage in the beginning of the fight. Purge, I've got Purge up, but I think Purge is a bit of a trap. If you don't know what spec they are, and you say Purge the fumble right off the bat, whether it's green, blue, or yellow fumble, and they hit you with that evade stun, you're in a world of hurt because that evade stun gives them, relative to your health bar, infinite power. They will hit you so many times and get so much power to claw you with that the fight's essentially over if they land it. I don't know what spec this guy is. I don't think he has the evade or the evade stun in retrospect, but I didn't know that going into the fight. So running through here, decided to take a look at this fight. It's a champion, so inherently not interesting. So ignore that. And we see our little buddy here is caught up. He has casted a nuke, which I believe is a level 30 nuke, given the 20% chance to resist. And he pops charge, and we know we're in for a battle. Charges at us. There's a power ball. There's the CL buffs. And I guess he has hit us already. I don't know how that's happened, but we luckily blocked the first hit, so he doesn't generate that little bit of extra power, and we engage straight off the bat. I open with engage because you see he has put the fumble debuff up. Again, if we've purged this and he's able to evade stun us, because at this point we don't know if he has it or not, we're dead. We lost. Unless we have fanaticism up, and then maybe there's an answer there. If he doesn't just run away. But he opens with charge. We can't stun him. We're fumble debuffed. The best play that I've found is to just engage this. And you sit and you hope for the best. So you wait. And again, part of the reason I chose this particular clip is look at how few times he hits me, and I've got an Excel spreadsheet breaking this whole fight down that I'll show at the end. He hits me so few times, and he's able to claw so much, even after opening the fight with a ranged nuke and a fumble debuff. And we know he hasn't been power farming. We know he's at whatever the baseline level of power is to start. So here he lands his cold debuff, which I think is Dementia Claws. It's not hitting very hard. He never hits me for over 100 in melee. Every hit is below 100, and he does not hit me very often. And yet, he still just claws and claws and claws. So, here we go. We wait for the fumble debuff. We're just trying to keep him in front of us, trying to survive. Claw, 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 claw. This is very fortunate. One of the few hits he got through gave us our heal over time. And you'll see at the end of this fight, I think I'm at maybe 8% at one point. So the 2 ticks we get from this, 2 or 3 ticks, really, we get from this before we actually start fighting back and pop our timer heal over time is what keeps us in this, is what wins this fight. Otherwise, we basically just die, even while engaging, just from his, whatever limited power he starts the fight with, and then the small amount he's able to get from hitting for 60 to 95. So here we go, keeping him from us. He's trying to get through our block. We're keeping him in our defensive arc, that front 180 defensive arc, and just waiting for the debuff to drop. 4 seconds left. And you'll see that I make a mistake here where I pop all my buffs before styling. So this is, I was getting scared, I was taking damage. This drops your concentration on your engage and auto attacks. So you can see I wasted 1.5 seconds here auto attacking, which is, in a fight like this, when you're up against it, is a huge mistake. So always come out of your engage with a style. Ideally, you're off blockchain. So that throws my whole rhythm off. But maybe we're stabilized, right? 24%. Land Tiger Snake, land our stun, and I don't realize it. So I do one attack with I just do one anytime before going to levy. And now I've swapped to my heat legendary. Um, I I really like having the heat legendary against vamps. In this case, I believe he has put up his magic resist buff based on the sheer amount of damage he's mitigating right now. He's doing those cold claws, which means he has those defensive buffs at a decently high level. So probably would have been the better play to go back to the crush. But having the magic damage available is really important against these vamps because they put up one buff for the other, and you can swap to the opposite damage type. In this case, I make the mistake of not swapping. I think it would probably be the better play to swap to crush, but my procs are going to be mitigated either way. So we get behind him, we levy, 200 damage, missed, resisted, which is brutal. But then we finally get the debuff proc, and we're starting to fight. Now, fortunately, as a heretic, I am able to land my side styles and heal up a little bit, do good damage, and heal. A lot of other classes, they'd be sitting and looking at this, and there's no coming back. So we land our side styles. If you're a newer player and you're trying to work on getting your side styles off, you just walk into their shoulders. It's really, really straightforward, and you'll see here, especially if they're not dehasting you. You can just do it in the flow every 1.5 seconds. Just walk into their shoulder, walk into their side, kind of glide around, and you'll get it off almost every time if they're sticking you like this. All the while, we are still being clawed the entire time. We've been hit only a handful of times since I dropped engage. But we're able to get these taipans off, these cobras off, and close out the fight. So again, I think this is a fight where you have to consider their timers, their offensive abilities, and then how you can mitigate it. So if I had known going into this he wasn't going to try to evade stun me, maybe I immediately purged that first fumble debuff, right? He charged in, which against the melee heretic is a huge mistake because if I have fanaticism, his charge is the answer to my fanaticism. I pop it, he charges away, resets the fight. That's how he can continue to win. But ultimately, I was able to get those heal over time procs off. I was able to engage, and one thing I didn't mention, while I am engaging, ideally you swap shields. Right now I have a DF shield out, so I am getting ablative procs. Ideally you have a heal shield of some sort, so you can maybe heal for 100, 200, 300 health, maybe 400 if you're real lucky, and mitigate a couple of those claws while you're engaging. You're going to lose health to the claws, so any healing to make that up is great. Obviously popping one ablative is nice and will come in handy once you drop the engage, but you really want the heals are going to be more valuable because if you get 2 procs or 3 procs, you're going to just get so much more out of it than from the ablative. Nothing wrong with the ablative, but you want a shield swap here. You don't want to be sitting if you're relying on your DF shield for stats. You don't want to be sitting on it for this part of the fight. So we heal up, the fight's over, and I know it's kind of fast paced. There's a lot going on, so I broke it down to just show what this class does. We know going into the fight, 0 power pool out of the ordinary. The power pool was base, whatever that means. Unless they can retain power for a minute while they're running around the ruins, we know he was a base power. So I made this Excel sheet breaking down the claws and the melee hits, as well as the spells cast. Damage done. It's my speculation of the power cost. Not really important, but I just kind of wanted, just for my own edification, I wanted to see kind of how much power I thought he used. I think it's the second highest claw. I think this is level 30 DD. For some reason, all the fumbles are the same power cost. So green, blue, and yellow fumbles, all the same power cost, and not high either. Max level claw is like 24 power, so this is like half of a max level claw, and it's extremely broken. I mean, it's a ability you basically have to purge or wait out, which is I mean, the fumble mechanic in general needs to be looked at. This particularly needs to be looked at. But that aside, I think this shows. I've seen some conversations about claw spam. I think someone posted a video about it, and they got hit a lot in the video. Their defenses weren't working. My defenses are undeniable here, right? You just watch me engage him for 28 seconds. And despite opening with both a DD and a fumble, which is about 29 power, possibly, again, that's not important, he was able to claw 10 times in 28 seconds while only hitting me 4 times for under 100 damage each time. That's 321 total damage, 2200 claw damage. So this right here, this is my entire health bar. That is, I have about 2,500 health if I don't have my 10% AF health CL buff up or champion weapon buff up. That is a dead heretic in 28 seconds with 4 melee hits under 100 damage and 1 legendary proc. I don't know. That shouldn't give them power, I assume, but I just noted it there. I think this is the core of what is problematic with the class at the moment. And obviously there's ancillary things. Their kits so stuffed full of tools that fumble mechanic in general is bullshit. There's something needs to be done. I don't know if it needs to be changed to like deflecting blow or what, but to have a mechanic that completely mitigates an attack and resets your attack timer to the base is just wild. So yeah, 2,200 damage while not hitting me essentially. And then once I dropped engage, we had another 6 claws for another 1,300 damage, while only doing 260 damage. And 110 of that was not used for power, right? So this was 170 damage, 150 damage for another, 5 or 6 claws after the engage was up. So end of fight totals, again, hit me for 470 roughly. 470, 460 total physical melee damage, and did 3,600 claw damage in under a minute, 53 seconds. This is something where, again, I won the fight, right? There's ways to deal with it if you engage, if you kind of stall and delay, if I have fanaticism. Obviously, he has answers for that. But this is such a sheer amount of damage, and there's no interplay here. There's no participation. This is just being done. This is being done through anything you do, and it doesn't matter if the class is even hitting you. And I think this is similar to triple wield for the Blade Master. It's a similar in concept to charge triple wield, where there isn't really counterplay. If they move their character right and they manage their timers properly, and you just die. I don't think this is good design fundamentally. And I think something probably needs to be looked at to lower their ability to front load this in solo play. Obviously, I understand 8v8, small man, the vamp needs to be able to do claw spam. But in solo play, it's a pretty big problem. And I think that's all I really have to say about it. I think I thought this was fascinating to actually do the breakdown and see the sheer amount of damage being done. 3600 health. 3600. I mean, that's going to kill any class in the game. And again, no power, or no power was really. I can't imagine you're gaining much. Hitting for under 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times over a minute-long fight. I don't know. I guess that's all my thoughts on this. I'm going to call it here. Maybe I'll jump in with a couple more if I think of some before I upload the video. But appreciate it if you made it this far, and hopefully this gets changed. So as I was reviewing this, like as I suspected, I'd find a thing or two. I believe this is the Vamp Realm Rank 5, this red spell here, which gives the Vamp power per damage done. It's like a little crappy damage add. So I went back through, calculated the damage done by that damage add, presuming it's the Realm Rank 5. I don't actually know. And I just added those totals up here just to get a better idea. You know, maybe that's what's giving them so much ability to claw spam. It's not. So here's 15, 22. So that's enough power for one more claw. And then here's enough power for a second claw. So maybe 2 of these claws were generated by this Realm Rank 5. So let's say 422 damage. So what's that? 3, 1, 4, 7. Without the Realm Rank 5, depending on how it shakes out. So I don't know. I just want to come back in and say, you know, I saw that spell and I saw the damage hit, and I just want to make sure I noted it here. That could definitely be contributing to some of the damage, but regardless, we're still looking at 3,100 damage and very little physical damage applied. All right, I'm out.